Welcome to Moneyball Bets for May 13th. My name is Eric. I'm from eTalk21 Sports, and my co-host today is David at BetterDP21 on social media. David, how you doing today, my man?
Doing well, man. Looking forward to getting into this with you. Appreciate you having me on as always.
Well, before we jump into anything, we are honest guys, and that what we're not going. When we win, we're going to show off. When we lose, we're not going to hide. And unfortunately, last week I was 1-1. David talked me into for the show tracking everything as a 1-unit play. So I finished up 1-1 minus 0.05 David was 1-2, finished off minus 1.15 We are back at it today. Hopefully, we can get some winners. I know with me, I knew I was screwed with Yerman because that was the bet I lost over 5.5. I knew I was screwed because the first three hitters, he all got an 0-2 count, and it was either he gave up a hit or a ground out. As soon as that happened, I knew I was screwed. He still struck out 5. The over-under was 5.5. So I know with you, don't talk to you about the Tampa Bay Rays bullpen. I know that's the moral of the story with you, my friend.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, I always try to look and have a really good insight into you can only do so much when it comes to the bullpen, right? You can look at these numbers, you can look at what's available, what's their average ERA, all this stuff to determine whether or not you should play the full game or the first 5. And that bullpen looked strong, and then they gave it up. I mean, they had the lead for 7 strong innings, so losing it at the end there, that's a tough way to go out with that loss.
Now, how do you decide? Like, do you use your personal bullpen rankings? Do you look at bullpen ERA, bullpen average? How do you decide to play the first 5 versus the 5?
Yeah, I mean, it is just that. It's I have personal rankings on what the bullpen looks like in a matchup, and I'm able to look at that, plus looking at current available ERA of bullpen available for that day. So I think that is really my strongest indicator is looking at that for the day. If I see bullpens that have ERAs 4+, going into the later half of the game, I'm trying to stay away from them as much as I can. 4 is not bad. It's when it gets to like the 5, 6, 7 range that you're like, no, you should not be playing that bullpen for the full game. So I do have rankings that I have as a daily update for myself. Data up as of the day before. It just comes down to, like I said, when I look at the actual that data up to today's games, as well as looking at the available bullpens ERA for that day as well.
Now we each have. Oh, I have 2 bets. You have 3 bets, my friend. Mm-hmm. So you know what? You are the guest here. I'm going to let you kick off, and it looks like you're going back to the well.
Yeah, let's go back to the well. Let's go back to the Rays versus Yankees. These teams have been playing each other for like the last week is what it feels like. I mean, they pretty much just flip-flop, home away status with each other since last week. And that being said, they didn't face the Rays starting pitcher, Shane McClanahan. So I really like this matchup. There's a lot of value in this line for me. My numbers for the odds here have a projection of, score-wise, I definitely have the Rays beating the Yankees by more than 2 runs. Projection-wise, the line right now for just the money line for the Rays is at like minus 140. I think it's bumped up to minus 145. Money's still coming in, of course. My projections actually around like minus 250, meaning, they are a very strong candidate to win today. The reason I'm going run line on this is because they are the away team. They are guaranteed 9 at-bats throughout the course of the day. And, from that end, I really like where the, starting pitcher ranks. He's giving up, no more than a run to 2 runs a game. I think his ERA is somewhere around like 2.1 or something, maybe even less than 2. I don't have the stat directly in front of me, but I was looking it up earlier before I took this play. And the bullpen's in good form as well. So I don't have any, I'm not shying away. Definitely not going to be scared to play the full game in this sense. And like I said, just because they're the away team, I really like them getting the most at bats and taking advantage of this. So I want to go plus odds where I can. And so it's run line for me -1.5 at +115.
I like it. I like it a lot. My first play, and I hate it because you know what? I hate the Chicago Cubs. I am going Hayden Wisniewski over 4.5 Ks. Probably butchered that name. +120. 6 Ks last time out against the Marlins. Twins have the most Ks versus right-handed pitching. They are striking out at a 28% clip with 285 strikeouts against righties on the season. Last time the Twins faced a righty, they have gone over this total 2 out of the 3 games, and the 1 game they didn't was Waka had 4, who's not really that much of a strikeout machine. So I'm taking Winetsky over 4.5 Ks at +120 for my first bet on this lovely Saturday morning.
Nice. Love the plus odds where we can get them. Let's get them.
Play number 2, my friend.
All right. So I believe that we were looking at Philly at Colorado. I'm probably going to be at this game tonight myself. I've been looking at this game hard, and I really like Feltner at home. Ranger Suarez is just coming back from an injury. This is actually going to be his first showing all year. Coming to pitch in Coors Stadium for his first showing, I think goes against him in a lot of ways, especially just with the air up here and the altitude and everything else. He has no stats to really kind of go off of in terms of what's his average ERA coming into this game or anything like that. But on the opposite end, Feltner. This man is averaging, right under 3, like a 2.71 game average right now. So at home at Coors, that's great. Rockies are also, had been streaking up until last night playing, Philly. All right, cool. Philly got the one, to lead out, but with the series this weekend. But I really like Feltner at home here. I love the dog money at home. Their bullpen wasn't in great form in comparison. They were at 3.85, available today. But you're getting the same odds if you play the first 5 versus the full game. So that was another situational factor I took into consideration. Again, I'll take the bullpen out of it where I can. But also one other thing that I was looking at for myself was Philadelphia, and Colorado are both averaging like 5.5 runs a game right now. So this is going to come down to, my opinion, this game, starting pitching. Like I said, Feltner's in great form. I have all the confidence for him to, lead out here. Suarez just coming back from injury for the first showing of his year. Could be dicey for him here at Coors. When I see kind of that, it gives me kind of the 50-50 feel for the game. And, I want to go with the value of the dog money at home. So that's where I'm going. Rockies first 5 money line +133.
One of the angles I always do is anytime a pitcher is making his first career start at Colorado, that is an auto fade for me all the time. First 5 run line, the whole 9 yards. Because that place is a devil to pitch. My bet 2, final bet on the day, I am going to Bryce Miller over 5.5 Ks. 2 starts this season, 5 Ks and 10 Ks respectively. Tigers are 6th in MLB in strikeouts versus righties, 269 on the year. That is it. They're striking out at a 27% clip rate. I know the last 3 games they faced a righty, they've only gone over this total one game, one time, but they were facing, how can I put this politely, back end starters, not the cream of the crop. The last front end guy they faced was Shane Bieber from the Indians. They struck out 9 times against him. So I just kind of feel that, look, it's Miller's going to light him up here. 5 Ks, over 5.5. I'm getting plus 135 money. And you know what? If you really want to be juicy, there's 10 Ks plus for 18-1. If you really want to get juicy with it, maybe I'll throw a little bit on that. But I am definitely locking in Miller over 5.5 Ks at plus 135 for my second and final bet. David, you have one more pending. What is it, my friend?
Yeah, I'm looking at KC and Milwaukee game. So, looking at this game, I'm also targeting first 5 Greinke versus Hauser. I am putting this into the hands of, a starting pitcher that's very consistent in Greinke. He is averaging 3 runs a game from his ERA count. I think he had maybe one bad game where it was something crazy, but I think every pitcher runs into that. So I never count that to the degree that people do when they're looking at averages. It's kind of one of those skewed data points, that's just way too high to factor in. And Hauser's only had 1 start under his belt. Granted, they're at home, but, at the same point, when I look at the average runs per game, I'm looking at KC's averaging close to 5 runs a game right now. Milwaukee has not been sharp. They're averaging like 2.5 runs a game. So that being said, I want to go with the model of consistency. I want to go with the hotter bats, and I think KC can get it done in the first 5 innings. So that's where I'm going. First 5 money line plus 130.
I like it. I like it a lot. Now, looking back at this, let's say, week of baseball, has there been anything that's really kind of stood out to you? Any teams you're going to be looking to fade, or kind of anything that kind of stuck out the page to you?
Yeah, throughout the course of the week, it's a really good question. I think there are some surprises that have happened. I think it's more or less the teams that have like the hotter bats right now versus the ones that do not. And from that end, I'm looking at teams like, like I said, KC averaging 5 runs, the Giants averaging 5, the Cubs averaging 7, and then it's just like who's got the hotter, who's not as hot right now. Like the White Sox are averaging under 2, Mets are averaging under 2 runs a game. One thing that stood out to me from an injury standpoint is Tampa Bay. They are losing another starting pitcher with Rasmussen, who actually, would have led us to a victory last weekend. Held the Yankees down there up until that bullpen came out. But I think it's just, from that end, that's something that stood out from an injury standpoint because, Tampa Bay has come out the gates pretty strong, 30-9 or something like that to start the season. They're going to need, 30-10 now. And, they are at a point where they're going to need that lead just based on their starting pitching getting depleted right now. They've got 2 now, out of their starting rotation that are going to fall out. And, I'm actually very interested to see how that goes going forward is what it gets down to, right? Like that is one thing for me that's key. And then, my Atlanta Braves just keep winning. They keep winning their series against some really tough competition. Like, they took them to bat against the Marlins, then, beat the Orioles in their series, and then split whatever recently. I think it was only a 2-game series they had recently against, I think it was the Cubs. I can't recall. I was actually traveling for work, so I didn't actually see that game. But point is, they're going into this series this weekend against Toronto. I expect them to bounce back after last night. I think it was just kind of a matter of, some people just don't forget about the fatigue of having to travel. And that's just one of those factors situationally that I look for. So, nothing else really that stood out crazy for me across this week, but more or less, it's just a matter of watching some of the bats get stronger. I think there's some teams that are pretty underrated. I think KC is one of those teams right now. I think they're going to find a streak. They're finding their rhythm with, the bats. I think they can find the same with some starting pitching to support them here. And, it's been a good week of ball. So I think the one thing that does stand out to me is just kind of the Giants, or Pittsburgh, really. Like Pittsburgh was one of those teams people started looking at. They're obviously in a regression state. I think they're 1-9 over the last 10 right now, but they were like leading the NL and record and everything like that, just a couple of weeks ago. So, it's kind of watching these teams even out a little bit right now when it comes to, their form as well as their health. I mean, the health part is really everything to do with MLB. You have to be paying attention to everybody and where they're going in terms of that direction with starting pitching as well as the offense. And that's just one of those things to see how that'll shape. But yeah, those are my main things.
The one thing that kind of stood out to me is kind of name brand, and I think that this comment right here kind of hit it on the head. I'm pulling up the prices right now. So the prices to win the Central: Brewers -150, Cardinals +380, Cubs +450, Pirates +900, Reds 35-1. The Cardinals are 3 games behind the Reds.
Yeah,
they are 7.5 behind the Brewers. I mean, it is just remarkable. And I mean, you mentioned one of the plays I was actually looking at. One of the hottest hitters right now in MLB is Perez from the Royals. I was looking at his total bases. I was going to go over, but it was at 1.5 even money. I wanted a little bit better plus odds to get to that price. So yeah, I mean, I think, basically the gist of what I took away from you is kind of look at the data and don't get caught up in the brand recognition with like these other teams. Because a team like the Royals, no one's going to look at them.
And that's just it, right? Like, I mean, people are going to have their streaks like back and forth, and you just can't look at the brand and go, oh, that's an automatic. I mean, that's obviously where public money comes into play when it comes to these money lines, right? Because they're looking at the brand and they're not looking at, actual recent performance. And that is something that a lot of people, disregard. So definitely something to be paying attention to.
And, I'm just kind of trying to look through, see if there's any futures that kind of stick out to me.
But Milwaukee's my clear example of that, right? I mean, they're leading their Central Division right now, but they also are only averaging 2 runs a game. Like, you can't bet on a team now that's not hitting. Like,
they don't generate that many runs. Yeah, I mean, Jesus, the O's are 25-13. The only team I think, the Mariners, disappointing 19-19. The Rangers are 2 games up, and the 2.5 up on the Angels, 3 up on the Astros. And to win the AL West, the Astros are basically a pick 'em price.
Yeah,
Angels are 5.
Angels are streaking right now. I almost had a bet on them for today too. I really like Detmers for them playing, pitching today, and that was a close one for me.
Tigers 7-3, baby! Look out! Look out! David, I'd like to thank you for coming on. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find you on social media, my friend?
I appreciate it, Eric. Yeah, anybody want to talk shop? Find me on Twitter or Instagram, BetterDP21, better with an OR. Good luck today.
All right, let's make some money. Let's cash some tickets. We'll be back about 11 a.m. Eastern time every single Saturday, give or take, a couple minutes here or there because of prep work. We'll talk next week, my friend. Let's make some money.